us. And again, thank you to Miss Tyree Brown for coming here and out of a busy schedule to sit down with us, coming through 4th Street and everything too. But now we move on to our debate section.
Yes.
And today we had a very big press conference today, right?
Yeah.
Who wants to get into it?
Okay, well, first of all, let's introduce our new guest.
Yes,
we have another guest.
Yes.
This man literally just walked in the building straight from the
Fan
conference.
Expo, basically. Yeah.
Yes, we have another guest. This since we known this man and since he signed up, he's been a very busy guy. Freshman, Mr. Dima Mixon.
Yes, welcome to the show, 4th Street Sports.
How you doing?
Good.
Doing
We want to know what happened. Y'all were Austin, Charles, and you were at the conference. How did the conference go? Obviously, if you've been living in a cave, Southern Miss is no longer a part of CUSA, or at least until 2023.
2023,
yes,
yeah.
and are now joining the Sun Belt Conference. So how did that conference go?
How did
y'all?
that conference go? Anybody?
I thought it went great. I mean, we got a lot of information that we did not know beforehand, and some of the things we asked we still don't really know because they couldn't give us clear answers. But a lot of things that we needed to know were known. Obviously, the first thing that you just mentioned was 2023. Nobody really knew when this was going to happen. We speculated 2023, and we didn't know if the baseball would be able to be in the Sun Belt in the beginning of 2023. But we now know that's not the case because in July 1st, 2023, that's the official move. So Southern Miss will still be competing for a Conference USA title in baseball in 2023. And other than that, a lot of stuff. I know Austin can get into some stuff as well, but yeah, a lot of things said. So it's a lot of stuff to just kind of say. But it was a good press conference.
You stayed for the fan reception a little bit.
I did. I stayed for the whole thing. It wasn't even really. It was literally another press conference because they took questions from the fans.
Yeah.
The athletic director did.
Okay.
So who were the big names in the big suits that were there that were there for this tremendous event?
Yeah, so obviously athletic director Jeremy McLean was there, and president Dr. Rodney Bennett, and then also they had the Sun Belt commissioner there, Mr. Keith Gill. He gave some great insight. What a lot of people were wondering was if they were gonna when the talks happened, when it really started to be all right, we were able to invite Southern Miss to the Sun Belt, and he said it was when the Oklahoma and Texas to the SEC news went over. They said that's when some talks, but it didn't happen seriously until this past week. So he said that it was pretty quick, it was pretty much a week decision, which is pretty crazy in my opinion.
And going back to August when we first started 4th Street, our first episode was with Mr. McLean, and we put him on the hot seat. We said, Mr. McLean, what about this conference realignment? Because, that news was just coming out. And I'm just going to say a quote now. We can kind of laugh at the irony. He told us, we're going to put ourselves in the best position possible to reach our ceiling. So whether that's in USA or whether other opportunities arise that could put us in a better situation, we just have to take care of our business so that when the time does come, we're ready to take advantage. He left it open, and like you said, I think things just kind of rolled as this scenario is just, fluid, let's say, and they took advantage.
Yes.
Because before Sunbelt came along, didn't we kind of mention that they would move to American or somebody like that?
I mean, what had happened, if we just look at this timetable of things, just a couple weeks ago, CUSA Commissioner Judy McLeod reached out to AAC to try to see if they could work some partnership, and then AAC was like, nah, we'll just take y'all's teams. So now CUSA is currently left with 5 teams looking to expand. So I want to talk just y'all's overall thoughts on this move. I described it as us jumping off a ship on a lifeboat, but that lifeboat is going to a vacation destination, right? You have to take a move. So you're this is your insurance policy, but it's a better policy than what you had before. That's my thoughts.
People who are at the meeting, y'all, who want to go first?
Well, I guess I will go ahead and speak first. I would imagine that there are some people who are down on this move saying that, oh, this is a downgrade. What are we doing? You got to realize that, first of all, regionally, this makes a lot more sense because it means less travel time for our teams. That's one of the main reasons why they made this move. You got to realize that there are a lot of teams that we have history with that are in this conference, like Lafayette's in this conference, Troy's in this conference, South Alabama's in this conference.
Yes, we've been saying South Alabama is
South Alabama is our rival
now.
I think that we are going to be able to look forward to yearly amazing competition throughout the future once we make this move. And like Charlie said, this is a sinking ship. Everybody's leaving Conference USA. I feel like it would have been only a matter of time, because everyone's leaving anyway. But yeah, I very much look forward to the matchups that we will see from this move.
Yeah, and I want to point out something. You're talking about like old rivalries restored. It's something my dad, who's been at Southern Miss forever, and my grandfather was the director of athletics here for a time. And I just got through interviewing two separate fans, one who actually worked for the Prince 50 years ago, which was insane. It was so lucky that we actually got to interview the person who worked for the Prince. And he was saying that I asked him why he's excited that the Southern Miss is moving to the Sun Belt, and he didn't say it was for better football. He just said he was just excited to see Southern Miss play the same teams they were playing 20 years ago, just Louisiana Lafayette and all these teams. And also, you could tell that a really big part of this, from athletic director Jeremy McClain and President Rodney Bennett, was like it's better travel for our fans, right? We can take buses to the games. We don't have to take all these plane things. We're an hour and a half at that's grueling on the players. But now we can just get in the bus, go down to Mobile, and have a great football game. Probably fill the stadium because we're going to have so many fans there. So that's something to definitely look at when we're talking about this.
I mean, if you saw South Alabama, we were there. There was, I would safely say, there was more Southern Miss fans than South Alabama fans. I'm not discrediting South Alabama, but that's just when Southern Miss fans, like you said, can make that trip. They will make that trip.
Right.
So Sun Belt is definitely geographically more centered for Southern Miss, and I think that is one of the biggest benefits. I think the number that Pete Thamel threw out, were y'all able to get a number at the press conference about travel costs?
Yeah, he said it was around $500,000.
Wow.
That was going to be saved.
And that's huge.
And that's annually.
And that's across all sports, which is huge because that money, I mean, you're considering Southern Miss has an admirable athletic budget, but it's not the top of a Sun Belt. It's not even close. And when you can make those cuts, and that can be allocated somewhere else, and that's really just an improvement you can make on top of everything else that we've said.
Yeah, to add on to that, just talking about the resources and just the amount of refunds and things that we're kind of getting back from Conference USA with the travels and things of that matter. President Rodney Bennett pointed out the fact that Southern Miss would expand their resources and athletic program to $41 million, which before, correct me if I'm wrong, Charlie, it was around $30 million or something around that.
He said the budget?
Yeah, the budget will
wow.
expand to around $41 million.
It was around 26 is my number.
Yeah, he said something around $41 million for Southern Miss's resources.
Okay, which South Alabama's, if I'm recalling, because I kind of look at South Alabama as that leading dog of Sun Belt, because if you see all across the board, they have the most championships. But anyway, their budget is around $33 million as of 2019. So it's very exciting. I think some new rivalries are. We've argued that this rivalry has been long existing but not noticed. But there's going to be a lot of, I think, spark, and that's the thing that I think the fans really lost that spark probably 10 years ago when the last realignment or whatever happened. And even if you weren't a CUSA fan, imagine seeing Southern Miss versus UTEP, no disrespect, UTEP, on whatever stadium or TV contract they had. It's just the interest no longer was there. The fans here were losing interest too, and this is a move to reignite that interest.
Yes, this is the direct quote. I don't mean to cut you off, Charlie.
No, go ahead.
But direct quote from President Rodney Bennett. He said the Sun Belt's geographic footprint will create a new regional will create new regional rivalries and will encourage more visitors to Mississippi, further increasing our athletics program to $41 million annually, making an annual economic impact on the state. President Rodney Bennett.
That's huge.
Yes.
Yeah. So my thoughts on this, I'm very excited for this. I'm actually excited for this as well. It's kind of it's kind of like a downer to see that Conference USA has fallen this far. Because I remember Southern Miss in Houston fighting for that CUSA championship, and this when Case Keenum was one of the best college quarterbacks in the nation. Though, and he's a starting right now. He's a starter for the Browns until Baker comes back. But it is crazy. It is, well, I wouldn't call it crazy, but it is weird to see that Conference USA, which has been a staple in college football, is falling this far and is losing this many teams. But like you said, Charlie, a Southern Miss UTEP game doesn't have the attractiveness as like a certain SEC game. Even though you could take the worst teams in SEC team, and people will still want to watch that and not watch a Southern Miss UTEP game. But
Of course.
again, like y'all said, this is very positive because, of course, you don't have to fly too far. You don't have to drive too far, fly too far. I'm thinking about it now. Southern Miss could be facing Georgia State, and that's an Atlanta game. That's like a 7-hour ride, and it can be. You can really be back. You take that the way through Tuscaloosa and all that. Because the only reason I know is because I'm gonna be in Atlanta this weekend. But
Tell the people why you're gonna be in ATL. Kobe.
Actually, the real reason I'm gonna be, I wish I could lie and say that I'm gonna be there for Game 3 of the World Series,
Man,
but
you're not doing it right.
my dad is a Falcons fan.
Boo.
But my dad is a Falcons fan, and he wants to go see the Atlanta Falcons this year.
no,
So
no
I know
disrespect,
Charlie.
no
I know Charlie,
disrespect.
but that we'll get into that. We'll get into that later.
You would be
but,
better off if you're going to Atlanta United game.
That is
But,
very factual.
But yeah,
I want to add something. This book, Rock Solid by John Cox, let me get it in. This book ends on CUSA days. So we're going to need a Rock Solid 2.0, John Cox. This is like the Bible of USM sports books. And now that USM is in Sun Belt Conference, I think we need an updated version. So
Yeah,
we add a chapter to the Bible.
Yeah, let's get this updated through the 2021. Get the entire CUSA
Yeah.
history.
The demise of CUSA.
wait,
Oh,
Dima.
man.
Yeah, go ahead.
Wait, like just last thoughts, and then I'm gonna pass it to you, Dima. So this is pretty much a positive thing, and like Dima said earlier, I'm actually interested in some of these matchups and the rivalries because Southern Miss and ULL kind of grew a little rivalry.
Yes, there was a rivalry.
That grew a little right, especially that New Orleans Bowl win, which was a great game. I remember that game too.
No disrespect. Southern Miss holds a 600 winning percentage against ULL, so come get it, right?
Yeah. So, but I'm very interested to see. Now it'll be in 2023, so we got some. I think next year, pretty much, and you like you said, July 1st, 2023 is when it's gonna be official. But
Mr. Dima here is gonna be the only one left in school. We're
pretty much,
gonna be graduating.
yeah, pretty much,
fun time.
unless I'm a part of the
Hopefully.
graduate program. But like, that's another discussion for another time. But I'm very excited to see what happens there, and I hope that this move again sparks that interest because this Conference USA, I love Conference USA, Louisiana Tech, all them teams that's in there, but it's kind of becoming stale. And as much as a lot of people disagree with this move to the Sun Belt, again, we talked to a couple people who weren't a fan of this move, but it's something different. It's to spark new interest now, and I guess we could just say hasta luego to the the Conference
Yeah,
USA
and
until
Buena
2023.
suerte.
and you know, you bring up like bringing in a spark. Rodney Bennett actually did mention that one of the things that he feels is exciting about this move is that he feels like he's going to be able to attract more students to come in, you know, because he feels like a lot of students are going to want to be involved with Sun Belt and they're going to want to stick around and root for their teams. So I remember him specifically saying that. Isn't that right, Dima?
I just want to point out something because I don't think it's overstated because I think it's such an interesting discussion. You were talking about the 2011 Houston game, Conference USA Championship. I was there at that game.
Wow.
I mean, and I was, what was I, 9? You know, I mean, I've been to a lot of Southern Miss games. And so Houston was undefeated, and they were ranked number 7 in the country. They were talking about Case Keenum as a Heisman candidate. Southern Miss, I think they had 2 losses that year. They went in there and destroyed them. You know, and Southern Miss went to the Hawaii Bowl, I believe.
Yeah,
and
I
if
remember
Houston
that.
would have won that game, Houston would have gone to the Sugar Bowl. Like they were going to a BCS Bowl.
Yeah.
Back then, and then like it doesn't need to be overstated. Like since then, the Conference USA was like, my gosh, like we could get somebody in the BCS Bowl. Maybe the playoffs weren't that far down the line. If Houston goes undefeated or Southern Miss goes undefeated, they may have been in conversation for the playoff. But look at it and where it is now, where
Yes.
we don't even have anybody. I mean, when was the last time a Conference USA team was even ranked in the rankings?
Right
UTSA
now,
is
right now,
ranked
yeah.
Oh,
24th
UTSA
in the
right now.
nation.
My bad.
It's been
Currently?
like top
And
top-
UTEP,
wow.
right? UTEP's ranked
to the bottom though.
UTEP's
No,
not ranked.
I lied. Sorry.
I apologize to all of the UTSA fans.
But
the
I-
road runners.
I just want to bring this point up, Dima, because you made a solid point. My point would be, you talked about Houston, who was in CUSA at the time. They eventually went to the AAC. And you just look at the vast changes and unpredictable things that happen in the Group of 5 conferences. Like Houston going from the AAC now to the Big 12.
Yeah.
My question is, now that the AAC added 6 different Conference USA teams, what the question is, how can the Sun Belt kind of expand themselves now?
Whoa.
Because the AAC may be on a downfall. And then my question would be, if the Sun Belt becomes the number 1 team in the Group of 5 conference level, is that really something that they want? Because it will provide more harm in the future if you look at the advances that powerful, powerhouses like Cincinnati, Memphis, UCF, and Houston established themselves as in the AAC, which was at the time.
Two answers: Coastal Carolina, ULL.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I would also answer that by saying they cannot look to the future and say, well, we maybe shouldn't do this because hypothetically maybe the Big Ten will take Southern Miss. They can't think
Yeah,
that
they
way
can't,
right
yeah.
now. They have to think in the present, and they have to find out a way to win this conference realignment. And we all wrote about it in an article we published, and all of us said that we think that the Sun Belt won this alignment war. Now, the AAC right now versus the Sun Belt, I would argue that the Sun Belt would probably be the better conference right now.
I can't argue that until we see for the upcoming season.
For sure,
That's
but
the only thing. I
after
would
the
say.
after
Yeah,
all
yeah.
these teams move, if you look at the teams where they are at this point, it would seem that possibly, potentially, that it would be.
And back to your point, also with the Conference USA championship, I think the realignment definitely hurt the Conference USA, especially when Houston left, when Memphis left, when
Cincinnati.
Tulane, Cincinnati. A lot of teams from that conference left and went on to bigger and greater pastures. Even though some have kind of not been good as Houston, and I think, and going back to this point, I think Sun Belt could actually win because last year during this COVID season, we saw a lot of the Sun Belt on last year. Like Coastal Carolina,
3 teams
Coastal-
out of the Sun Belt defeated 3 Big 12 teams.
right? Coastal Carolina, ULL. That I remember that was the game that everybody wanted to see last year,
Appalachian State,
but
yeah.
COVID stopped the championship game. But I think that the Sun Belt could build off this and actually, even though I know they're not showing as many games as they were last year because all those big conferences are back, but I think they could build off this because if Coastal Carolina, even though they lost this year, they're still ranked, and you still got teams that are hungry, and I think Southern Miss and a lot of teams that are joining this, they're going to be very interested in seeing what
I
happens.
think I'm just going to speak on this. I'm just speaking for ourselves. This is a once in a lifetime ordeal for us just to be able to cover something like this on the student prints and for Street Sports. You coming in, Dima, as a freshman, getting all this experience is amazing. But I'm gonna throw a wrench in it a little bit. I gotta play devil. Somebody has to play devil's advocate. So all I'm saying
Well, this is
is
the debate segment, right?
Yeah, it is. It is.
this is my only statement.
Right.
The Sun Belt, we will have to see. My guess is that the Sun Belt will become the powerhouse of the Group of 5 level in NCAA FBS. But I'm just thinking long term. How much does that hurt you in the end? Like Charlie threw out Coastal Carolina, Appalachian State, ULL. How much does this hurt you? Because those teams could become the powerhouse of this conference.
Well,
And who's to say they won't leave for a big, the Power 5
I'm
conferences?
saying look at the other sports though, and this is something that's been pointed out to us, is the competition in a lot of other sports was actually tighter or appears tighter in the CUSA than it actually might be in the Sun Belt. And the first team we think of is baseball.
Right.
I mean, CUSA was a powerhouse conference in baseball last year and for the last couple of years. Yeah. So ironically, though, Southern Miss lost all 3 of its games against South Alabama last year. But, I mean, you look at volleyball, soccer, lots of the top teams are actually in Conference USA. And they're moving on to the AAC. So, I mean, it was kind of like what we've been saying. They just had to make a move, right? or they would get left behind. And I think that's something they learned from the past 2 realignments.
Yeah.
So I don't really think you can think like that right now, like Dima was saying. I think it's just you look at, you can actually make yourself more competitive. You can actually put yourself in a better position with that experience against those teams, those top teams in the Conference USA and programs. Because it's not just football, even though football rules everything.
Yeah,
There's
I was gonna
17
say that,
programs at Southern Miss, and I think this puts them in a lot of better position to get at
You-
the top.
Go ahead, Dim.
And that's the thing that what President Bennett said today. This is a move to put the university in a better position for its students athletes.
Right.
So they're not sitting there thinking, well, in football, hypothetically, if this person left and this person left, they're thinking, what is the best thing for our student athletes? And it goes into a lot with travel. It goes into a lot with this conference. That's what they're thinking about right now. Because I think we think about this in a football aspect, which we should, because it is important to the South. But like Charlie said, we have to think of the other sports too. We have to think of everything that's going on here. So I think that's an important point to point out, that like the move to the Sun Belt is for the student athletes and to put them in a better position.
And with this move, this means that and UAB is included in this discussion. There are now no more original members of Conference USA
Wow.
with the conference.
Yeah.
I just happen to find things like this fascinating. I like tenure stuff.
RIP.
Charles with the facts.
Yeah. So
But,
great. That's a great point to end on. I will definitely be interested in them USM ULL games, and also Charlie USM versus UNO. I'm talking the New Orleans the University of New Orleans with the privateers and all, because they're actually a part of the Sun Belt. They just don't have a football team.
Oh, that is right.
Yeah,
What
that
team?
is true.
Oh,
Correct.
volleyball. Yeah.
Volleyball,
Southern Miss has
baseball,
played volleyball.
I was
basketball.
gonna say they also they have a really good basketball program as well, because
Yeah.
they make it to the dance a good bit.
Yeah.
So I look forward to
Good
those.
point.
I
Good
look
point.
forward to
I'm
those
actually-
games as
I
well.
did not even know that.
yeah. So I'm
Oh,
actually.
you don't fill out March Madness brackets, my guy?
So
Man, shoot, you and I are linking up in March, all right, man.
but yeah, Dima, thank you for stopping by and discussing this.
And
with
don't
us. Oh, yeah.
don't forget to check the student prints. We're gonna get to work on that article. It's gonna be out by tonight.
Oh, also watch Southern Miss TV too as well, because our guy Dima here is an anchor on that show.
Yeah,
so
tomorrow
Southern Miss,
we're filming it. It'll be available next Monday.
Yeah, it
or
will
next
be.
Friday.
Also, I just want to drop one more gem just for the fans and just leave it out there. It will be interesting to see how media outlets play this, ESPN specifically. We could see more Southern Miss games, Southern Miss football playing on weekdays.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
with
sure. I
ESPN.
forgot.
Or
Thursday
something like
games,
that.
I think you could get
Yes.
more students in. The big question
Yes.
is, will students stay after halftime?
I mean,
That's
if we're
Probably
the
not.
big
winning,
Cause,
question.
probably not because we.
if we're winning,
'Cause that's
Man,
when
we
most
better-
homework is
we
due
bet-
on
y'all,
Thursday.
we've got some good football coming up next or in 2023. Y'all better stick around for it.
Definitely
That's all
stick
I'm
around for it.
saying.
Definitely stick around
This
for
is
it.
the whole strategy. That's what the move for
Right,
some
right.
taking the students. to stay.
Right,
Just
right,
to keep
right.
students
Yeah.
to stay down.
Right, but Dima, thank you for
Absolutely.
joining us, man.